Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Tina Chandra, and I'm the marketing manager for Twarna. I handle core marketing activities such as increasing brand awareness, promotional campaigns, developing collateral, and lead generation. Today, we'll be covering a few interesting topics from the 2021.1 release. Our team has narrowed down a few noteworthy features from this release over three main areas of NetSuite: platform, Suite Cloud or Suite Scripting, and Suite Commerce. For further information on specific topics, please review the release notes available in Suite Answers or reach out to us for any additional assistance you may need. All right, now that I've introduced myself, let me give you a quick overview of our company, Twarna. We started out consulting in NetSuite and Salesforce in 2007, but has since evolved to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. We have also designed and built solutions for the NetSuite platform with the intent of extending its functionalities. Our Suite apps cover a wide range of industries and address every business need, and you can find them on suiteapp.com under the search term Twarna. Let's start with introducing our panel for today, who have over 20 years of cumulative NetSuite experience. Mithila Sri Pupalapatti is a senior NetSuite consultant. Mithila is responsible for business analysis, gathering requirements, and designing solutions based on these requirements. She performs quality analysis and post-customization support for client accounts, as well as beta testing for NetSuite upgrades. Next is Swati Vurthy, who is a senior NetSuite consultant as well. She comes with expertise in requirement gathering and working on end-to-end customizations. And then we have Uday Chand, who's Swarna's project manager with over 15 years of experience in software development, and he leads our scripting practice. Now, without any further ado, let us jump right in as we have a lot to cover today. Uday, we're going to start with you, and Uday is going to be leading our first section of this webinar. Uday, what is the purpose of these releases in NetSuite, and how can our audience prepare for them?
Sure. Thanks for the intro, Tina. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. So, Tina, twice a year, NetSuite rolls out major updates to its platform. These updates are called releases, and they affect NetSuite's entire customer base. NetSuite uses releases to introduce new features, enhancements, and to deprecate legacy features. All of this means that aspects of your NetSuite account could change significantly with a new release, and you must be prepared for the changes before they are released. Let us quickly talk about NetSuite's upgrade schedule. NetSuite upgrades its customer base in several batches, and so an upgrade window can last for over a month. You can find out your account's planned upgrade date from the new release portlet on the home screen after logging into NetSuite. If you don't see the new release portlet on your home page, you can add it by clicking on the personalized dropdown and selecting the new release option.
Uday, I have a question about these releases. Is it possible for me or my company to opt out of a new release?
Not really, Tina. So you can only opt out of a release if you're on a dedicated NetSuite server, which is usually for very large enterprise customers.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So NetSuite also provides a release preview account, which is a copy of your production account on the soon-to-be released version. This is a free account that customers can use to test their business flows and customizations before the next release. You need to opt in to be granted a release preview account. So if you are an administrator, request for a release preview account by navigating to Setup, Company, Release Preview on your production account and clicking the Request Release Preview button. The opt-in window for 2021.1 is currently open.
When will the release preview be available?
It varies according to your account's upgrade date, Tina. You can see the release preview account's availability for your account on the new release portlet. So moving on, here are a few things to note about the release preview account. Your release preview account might be a little slower than the production account since it runs on different servers and hardware. Not everything is copied over from the production environment to your release preview account. It is like the sandbox where everything that runs directly in NetSuite works, while external facing functionality might require reconfiguration. If you have a Suite Commerce site, you'll need to set up a new public domain to test the functionality in the release preview. Schedule scripts don't execute automatically in the release preview accounts, and you must trigger them manually to verify their functionality. Email behavior in release preview is same as your sandbox. All emails are sent to the logged in user, and you can change this by navigating to setup, company, email preferences. Finally, credit card processing, alternative payment methods, and UPS FedEx integrations only work in test mode, again similar to how the sandbox environment works. Let us now talk about preparing for a new release. Now that you know your upgrade date and the availability of the release preview account, it is important to be informed on what new features are planned in the new release and which ones could affect you. A good place to start is NetSuite's sneak peek, which is a page that lists the highlights of the new release broken down by industry and vertical. If there are features you would like to learn more about, you can read through NetSuite's full release notes, which are available well ahead of a new release. NetSuite also publishes a series of videos under their new features previews page on Suite Answers, which can be accessed by clicking on the training resources tile on the new release portlet.
Uday, how do we find the new release notes?
On the new release portlet, at the bottom, there is a link to a PDF file that you can download, Tina, or as always, you can find the release notes in Suite Answers.
Thanks for clarifying.
Sure. So the next thing to do is prepare a testing plan. The aim should be to have your NetSuite users test your key business flows and ensure that they are working as expected in the release preview. We recommend that you test the following areas as a starting point. Um, Please make sure all the business workflows are tested and working in the release preview environment. Also verify your custom reports, queries, and forms. You should also verify all your suite scripts and their functionality if they're still working as intended in the release preview environment. Verify any SOAP web service integrations that are in place. Also look at all the installed suite apps in your account and make sure they function as they were. Your Suite Commerce site should be thoroughly reviewed on the new release preview environment. And also, finally, any external integrations should be reviewed so that and make sure that there is no impact to the data flows for these integrations. So Twarna provides all of these services, and you can reach out to us in case you need help with any of the above. We'll also email a link to NetSuite's testing plan after this webinar.
Uday, what should we do if we find an issue?
So if you find a bug, you must log a case with NetSuite support immediately, Tina, and they'll investigate it and set a date for resolution based on the severity of the bug. If all this sounds overwhelming, you're not alone. It is a major undertaking, and we frequently get requests from clients for assistance on testing and training on new release features. We now offer release testing services where we'll put together a testing plan, make comprehensive lists of areas to be tested, and introduce teams to features available in the new release. Testing is usually a collaborative effort between our team and the clients, but the testing plan, once created, can be reused to a large extent over and over again. We also provide both manual and automated QA services and specialize in NetSuite release preview testing. In addition, if you're subscribed to Twarna's apps, we have validated them and they're ready to be used with 2021.1 release. So please reach out to us if you want us to upgrade them for you.
Okay, great. With that, I'm going to pass the mic to Mithila. Over to you.
Thank you, Tina. Now let's go through NetSuite 2021.1 new features. Let's begin with the fixed assets. Fixed asset has undergone changes to both the user interface and some of the scripts that manage the module. Along with a few visual changes to the forms, the My Report page no longer shows failed reports. And many of the fixed asset specific fields that are abbreviated will now be spelled out in the saved searches. The fixed asset the Fixed Asset Suite app is now compatible with the Suite Script 2.1, which should ensure better and more consistent performance for customizations on the Suite FM Suite app. The reports cleanup script is now available for manual execution or to be set to run on a schedule base. Moving on to the next feature, invoice groups. Invoice groups are replacing the Suite solution named as consolidated invoicing. This feature allows us to collect multiple invoices for single customer and create a PDF that looks like a single transaction. This is very useful when you have a multiple invoices in NetSuite throughout the month, but you want to present a single PDF to your customer. The new features with this release are you now have the ability to add a single invoice to an existing invoice group with a click of a button. Before 2021.1, the invoice group was limited to invoices created from a single sales order. That restriction is now going to be removed. This means you can group more invoices that created for different sales orders to single group, and then you have a print option as a single PDF. Jumping on to the next feature, Suite Analytics. Suite Analytics is continuing to become more and more powerful with each update. The 2021.1 release is no exemption to this. With a list of enhancements and changes, we are highlighting some of more exciting user-facing features here. The first one is calculated measures. Further enhancement to the popular pivot table feature now allows for the user to define calculations from existing measures and basic operators. Calculated measures are available in pivot tables and charts defined within the current dataset on any given workbook, providing arithmetic operations with measures. Users are able to create as many calculated measures as needed within the fields available in the connected dataset. For example, a user can calculate the gross percentage of any given dataset by using a statement such as percentage profit equals sum of estimate gross profit by sum of amount. The analytic browser allows the user to validate each calculated measure throughout the definition editor, which provides a validated message to the user based on the operators being used. There is a list of supported calculations stated in the suite article ID 98196. And moving on to conditional formatting, users can now apply conditional formatting to their workbook table view and pivot table results. Conditional formatting highlights results based on rules defined by the user so they can quickly analyze their company's data. Depending on the conditions set, users can apply conditional formatting to group of results or individual results. Users can also define conditional formatting using any fields containing number or string values, including custom formula fields and calculated measures. Users are able to set parameters to apply different colors or highlighting in the results based on the conditions set to a group of results or individual results. This allows the user to define conditions within the same pivot table or chart to highlight range of results within the defined results range. For example, 20% of gross profit highlighted as red and 30% gross profit highlighted as yellow and 50% gross profit highlighted as green. Currently, date formatted fields or calculated measure results are not currently supported. For more information, please refer to Suite article ID 98346. And moving on to the next interesting topic, Packstation. Packstation, the new Packstation mobile app extends order fulfillment process in your warehouse or in any location that uses a kiosk device. It supports multi-level packing that let you pack items into cartons and then transfer onto packed cartons onto pallets. The Pack Station mobile app enables you to identify picked items that have the same shipping route and pack them at the same time. You can also gain visibility into items and orders packed across multiple cartons or pallets throughout the packing process. And it's feasible to print customizable carton labels, pallet labels, bill of lading, and packing list from a kiosk device. And you can also capture weights from a weighing scale throughout your kiosk device. The Packstation mobile app is included with the Packstation Suite app, which is shared with the accounts that use the Oracle NetSuite WMS Suite app. The Packstation mobile app requires the installation of NetSuite SCM mobile suite app. And the next, deprecations, which is more important to be considered in the new release testing. Deprecations are overlooked in releases, but they can have a negative impact if not planned for. Let's briefly cover the platform deprecation that could impact your user groups. The first one is reconcile bank statement and reconcile credit card statement pages. These has already been deprecated, but the pages have not been removed. Even though NetSuite has not published a removal date, they are recommending you to convert a new process as this page will be removed in the near future. And the next, advance notice for the end of support for some browsers. As of 2021.2 release, NetSuite will no longer support Internet Explorer 11, Microsoft Edge, and Safari all versions prior to 13.1. If you use any of these browsers, please convert to a supported browser now. And the next, end of support for REST reset button on standard form pages. Some records and forms had an option of click a reset button to return the form or a record to its last saved or original format. You would need to now use the refresh button to reload the form. You would need to now use the browser refresh to reload the form or a transaction. And the next, deprecation of NetSuite inbound single sign-on feature. This is fully deprecated as of this release. You will need to switch to OpenID SSO or SAML SSO. You can also review our blog on new release 2021.1 for some additional details on what is coming in.
And now Uday is going to take over and talk about some highlights for Suite Scripts, Suite Doc, and Suite Cloud. Over to you, Uday.
Thank you, Tina. Let's get started with the next section of this webinar, which covers the Suite script and other technical components of NetSuite. Keeping in mind the limited time we have, I'll try to cover only the key changes to Suite script and Suite Talk services as part of my presentation. The first new feature that we're going to talk about is the secrets management. SuiteScript 2.x now provides the ability to store, access, and manage API secrets. Secrets management can be used to store passwords and keys, preventing the need for hard coding or including plain text secrets or passwords in the scripts. This allows secure integration to third-party systems. Um, Secret owners now have the ability to limit access for other users to a secret or allow access to a specific Suite app. To view and create API secrets, administrators and other users with the appropriate permissions can navigate to Setup, Company, Preferences, and API Secrets. I have a screenshot here. Uh, the screenshot here shows how the API secret screen looks like. And I also created a sample secret for the purpose of this demo that you can see in the screenshot too. Moving on, the next feature that we're going to discuss is the SuiteScript 2.1 debugger. The debugger for SuiteScript 2.1 is now available, and programmers can use this to debug version 2.1 scripts. It supports on-demand debugging and debugging of scheduled scripts, suitelets, and user event scripts. This feature was not available previously for 2.1 scripts, and it was only available for 1.0 and 2.0 scripts. The debugger uses Chrome DevTools API and is designed for use with NetSuite and the Chrome browser. The other browsers have only a limited support for this feature. For those of you unfamiliar with this feature, the debugger is primarily used by the developers for troubleshooting purposes. They can quickly verify the functionality of a block of code by using the debugger instead of creating and executing an entire script file. Apart from script debugging and verification of code functionality, we can also use this to set values to certain fields in NetSuite for testing purposes. For example, In the screenshot here, I was trying to set the external ID of a customer. Um, as you know, the external ID field cannot be updated directly from the NetSuite UI. However, using this block of code that you're able to see on the left-hand side of the screenshot, I was able to update the external ID of a customer. Again, that's visible on the right-hand side of the screenshot. The navigation to debugger is customization, scripting, script debugger. Okay. Another important update in 2021.1 is changes to current record API method. As of 2021.1, if a script uses current record.getSubrecord API to get a subrecord that does not exist, a new subrecord is created and returned by NetSuite. Previously, users had the ability to verify if a record had a subrecord or not using this API call. However, it is no longer possible to use this API call to verify the same. Alternatively, to verify if a record contains a subrecord, developers can use the current record.has subrecord API method. Here's a tip for all of you. Please review your existing scripts for the usage of this API call and take necessary corrective action wherever needed. Depending on how this API was used in your scripts, you might have unnecessary duplicate records created in your account, or in some cases, a section of code that needs to be executed when a subrecord does not exist could fail to execute. So please just go back and review if this API call was used in any of your scripts. The next key change to look at is the deprecation of RESTlet authentication through user credentials. User credentials authentication for newly created RESTlets is no longer supported. So any RESTlets created after 1st Jan 2021 with user credentials authentication will stop working after the account is upgraded to 21.1. If anyone attempts to use user credentials to authenticate a new RESTlet after the NetSuite account is upgraded, an HTTP error response will be returned by NetSuite. So here's another tip for all of you to go back and check. So please verify all your RESTlets for the usage of user credentials authentication. If user credentials are being used for RESTlet authentication, please switch to token-based authentication or use OAuth 2.0 alternatively to avoid any issues with the existing functionality of your RESTlets once your account is upgraded to 2021.1. In addition to the features we talked about so far, 2021.1 also offers a new Suite App Info module, support for copying files, asynchronous server-side support, and a bunch of other new features and updates. Please take a look at the NetSuite release notes or visit our blog on 2021.1 to understand some of these other features. Let us now talk about the key changes to SuiteTalk Web Services in 2021.1. The first update that we're going to discuss is related to the record data retrieval. As of 2021.1, developers can use the get method to retrieve data from specific body fields of a record. The response from NetSuite contains only the fields specified in the request, and if no fields are specified in the request, then all the supported fields are returned in the response. So developers can selectively retrieve body fields along with some supported sublists and subrecord fields. Here's a screenshot that shows how selective retrieval of fields is going to work in 2021.1. As you can see in the request, I've only requested for the data for two fields, the company name field and the email field. And at the bottom of the screen in the screenshot, you can see NetSuite's response includes data only for those two fields that I've actually specified in the request. The next interesting feature we're going to talk about is the asynchronous request execution in REST web services. Users can now execute requests asynchronously in REST web services. The asynchronous execution of requests is very useful for long-running requests or jobs. Please keep in mind, though, this is still a beta feature as of 2021.1. So how does this work? When an asynchronous request is sent to REST web services, it is placed in a processing queue and will be processed asynchronously along with other requests. The client applications need not wait for a response and can check the status and result of the request at a later point using a job ID that is provided by the REST web services. For example, let us say a client is trying to retrieve a list of all transactions for a full year or more from NetSuite. This could be time consuming and the client application might have to wait for a long time and could even encounter a timeout issue waiting for the response. Instead, using the asynchronous option, The client application could submit the request and store the job ID returned by NetSuite for that request. At a later point of time, the client application can go back and query the status of the submitted request using the job ID provided by NetSuite. Moving on, the next change is related to available without login option. As of 2021.1, the default value for the available without login field when uploading images and website hosting files to the file cabinet is set to false. For endpoints prior to 2021.1, the default value is still true. So if you want a file that you uploaded to the file cabinet to be available without login, you must set the file.isOnline parameter to true. Alternatively, if you have the permissions, you can navigate to that particular file and file cabinet and check the available without login option to true as and here's a screenshot of an example. This is a file record that was created using web services, and as you can notice, the available without login checkbox is unchecked by default, which means it is set to false. Let's now take a look at the updates to Suite Cloud Development Framework. For the benefit of the people who are not familiar with SDF, SDF is a development framework and deployment mechanism that can be used to create customization projects in NetSuite. One of the key enhancements to SDF that we're going to talk about is the new installation preferences configuration for script deployments in Suite app projects. Programmers can now configure the behavior they want to apply to the fields customized in script deployments. They have the option to either preserve the fields and their values or override them with the updates from Suite app they belong to. They also have the ability to either overwrite or preserve the previously deployed scripts during the application updates. For example, if you have a Suite app that has two scripts installed in your account, as part of the next update to the Suite app, the application team can either choose to override these two script files or preserve them as they are. Apart from this, there have also been a bunch of minor updates to some custom objects as part of 2021.1. And finally, we have the Suite Cloud SDK. Suite Cloud Software Development Kit is a set of tools that can be used to develop SDF projects. These tools include Suite Cloud IDE plugins and command line interfaces, or CLI. The 2021.1 Suite Cloud CLI and IDE plugins for WebStorm and Eclipse will be released by NetSuite. So that should that should wrap up my section of this presentation. Thank you, Tina.
Thanks so much, Uday, for that information. And to hand it over to Swati for updates to e-commerce.
Okay. Thanks, Tina. Hi, everyone. Today, in my section, I will be covering the enhancement highlights for the commerce website setup and what exactly this means for the user and how exactly it will be beneficial for the user perspective. So, let's start with the first feature, that is ability to enable all commerce products independently. In NetSuite 2021.1 release, it includes the ability to enable all commerce products independently. Well, earlier to this release, Site Builder was automatically enabled when the Web Store feature was checked on the Enable Features page. So, this was required if you had Suite Commerce Advanced, Suite Commerce My Account, and Suite Commerce installed. Pre-release, you are able to see the navigation and the options for the site builder, whether you use the site builder or not. This caused confusion for most of the users who maintain their website without any developer or a partner. With this new feature, you only need to enable your commerce products and the features that it could be applied for. Site Builder is no longer required, and in fact, it can now be very clear for the users who exactly don't need it. Here we have a screenshot of the navigation for the list of commerce products and the features that it should be applied for. In the last, you could see the site builder. For this, you need to enable the feature Website Site Builder. And for any web store additional functionalities, we need to enable the features Site Builder Web Store. And for the Suite Commerce, you need to enable the feature Website Suite Commerce. And for the Suite Commerce Advanced, you need to enable the feature Website Suite Commerce Advanced. And for Suite Commerce My Account, you need to enable the feature Website Suite Commerce My Account.
In the similar way, you could also enable the feature Website Suite Commerce In-Store for the Suite Commerce In-Store Commerce product. Moving on to the next feature, it applies to the site management. In the 2021.1 release, navigation is very much easier and less confusing for the users. This is because of the site management's new top level tab, that is the Commerce tab. So what does this Commerce tab having? This means features that were previously found under Setup Site Builder, Setup Suite Commerce Advanced, and in some cases, Lists website will now be found under the new tab Commerce tab. Records like commerce catalogs, commerce categories, CMS content types, pages, domains, hosting files, and SSP applications can now all be found under the Commerce tab. Here we have a screenshot of how exactly the Commerce tab is having and the list that the website is having. So in the top right, you could see the content management. It is having the commerce catalogs, commerce categories, CMS content types, and everything. In the bottom right, in the earlier releases, we could see this navigation only in the lists website. And some of you might be asking, what is SMT and how can my company will be beneficial from it? SMT stands for Site Management Tools, and also it applies to Suite Commerce Advanced, and Suite Commerce My Account. This feature lets you perform several website management tasks, which includes management content, changing the overall page design, layout, and it can create landing pages, enhance it pages, and it can assign items to categories, manage commerce categories and subcategories. It can also customize certain attributes of a page without needing to develop code or modify the existing files. This is managed using the user interface on the website with easy to understand features like drag and drop options. It has also the ability to edit or remove the existing content. This feature makes maintaining website content easier for the developers or even for the NetSuite users who maintain their websites only. NetSuite Release 2021.1 has two enhancements relating to the language and the translation. This will be a huge benefit to the users who are having international customers or the audiences. So what are those enhancements are? The first one is the exporting and importing bulk translation content, and the other one is multi-language site support for the facets. So what does this exporting and importing means? This means that you can now export content requiring translation onto your web store. And once the content is translated, you can import that content back into SMT from the Translations tab. And this can be found under Overview mode. This feature is also available for the CMS content types and CMS pages. But here we are having few prerequisites. So what are they? The first one is multi-language must be set up and configured for your site and on the website record. And the other one is you must be using the Suite Commerce and Suite Commerce Advanced 20.2 or the later. And lastly, your account must be using SMT version 3. So how can we find that which SMT version are we using? So by default, Suite Commerce Kilimanjaro and Greater use SMT version 3. And versions of Suite Commerce prior to Kilimanjaro use SMT version 2. Facets on the product list page can now also be translated into a multi-language site setup. For all these changes to take effect, we must keep in mind that we should definitely do a rebuild search index. So for this, the navigation will be found under Commerce Website List. Moving on to the next feature, that is country-specific payment method. This allows users to restrict payment methods by the country of the shipping address. For example, you could restrict payment methods for the UK to Visa if you find that your UK customers show a preference for it. In the similar way, you could restrict American Express if the shipping country is the US. So I believe that this feature could be a great resource for the users who experience higher charges for certain specific payment methods, or even for the credit card types. It's a way to cater to customers who prefer a certain specific payment method. If you use any personalized catalog views on SuiteCommerce or the SuiteCommerce Advanced 2021.1 or even later, access to customer segments via API methods and the ability to hide web store pricing from the customer segments will be a great feature to be taken advantage of. So what does this feature simply put? It means that you can now build extensions and customizations specific to a certain customer segment. Let's have an example for this. If you want only those customers who have signed a contract to be able to see prices, you can now display special pricing and themes based on the customer segment that the logged in user belongs to. Or we can even disable purchases and hide pricing for the members of specific customer segments. Developers can now access customer segments using API methods, and it will be a much easier process to deliver a unique experience to a particular customer. And to configure item price visibility, use the website visibility level options available in the customer segments manager. And for this, you can find the navigation by going to setup, marketing, and the customer segment manager. Here you have a screenshot of how customer segments manager page looks like. Here we have the list of website visibility levels that we could select and can be helpful for. And the final one is the enhance in merchandising zone. This is in the site management tool. It lets you display products that you would like to cross-sell or upsell to the customers. This functionality includes support for multi-languages and is also compatible with the SuiteCommerce themes. The Enhance in Merchandising zone lets you present your products in a consistent way, but it also gives you the choice to display the products differently throughout your website and to match your brand quality as well as the themes. With the Enhance in Merchandising zone, you are able to display the products in a grid way or a horizontal slider, or it can be a vertical slider as well. You can even include a heading to display in the merchandising zone, and we can choose the number of products that it could be displayed for. All of these updates allow NetSuite users to get the most of their modules and they take advantage of some exciting ways to market and to connect with your customers. And that wraps up all my updates for the SuiteCommerce. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks so much, Swati. Swati and the team covered a lot today. I really hope everyone found our content helpful. Thanks once again, everyone, for joining us and taking time out of your day this afternoon. Twarna specializes in offering new release testing services to ensure that your transition is a smooth one. So if you need an expert QA team or any further information on the 2021.1 release, please feel free to contact any of our panel members. You should see all our contacts up on the screen right now, as well as our social media handles. Please do follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And I hope to see you all again in our next session. Until then, goodbye.